Okay, so look, welcome to this session. This session is specifically for people based in or preparing for FRV for the group assessment. So with the group assessment, as some of you have already done it before, you know it is quite difficult to prepare for this because we don't really know what sort of activities you're going to get us to do. We can give you a rough guide of what they might look like, and it's really, I guess, just a bit of coaching around certain things that you can perhaps do in this group assessment to improve your chances of, demonstrating to them that you have the right behaviours that they're looking for when it comes to choosing graduates for the role. Yep. Okay, good. So first of all, I just want to sort of take you through, and look, I think this is always just a good reminder to think about, why are they actually doing this assessment, and what are they actually assessing you for? So as you would know, if you're prepared for these interviews before, there's certain competencies, or we might call them competencies, or we might call them skills, or we might call them capabilities that the fire service is looking for in the people they choose. So as you all know, basically you can come from any sort of background. They do recruit a lot of people from a trade background, but I've also coached people who are teachers, bookkeepers, personal trainers, people who are working in office jobs in government. So it's not so much about the career that you've had, it's whether you have the skills and the capabilities to do the job once they train you in the technical side. So the key capabilities that they're looking for, this would be most of them. I think there might be some additional ones as well, but obviously they're looking for team players. For any of you who have played team sport in the past, I often like to, take you back and think, well, when you were playing footy or when you're playing soccer or hockey or whatever it is, what are the sort of behaviours that you look for in a teammate? So when you are playing sport with people, you want everyone to be communicating, you want people who are going to support you, you want to all be clear on what your position is on the field. So it's no different to being in a team, in a corporate or any sort of occupation. It's exactly the same sort of behaviours that we're looking for. It's about respect, it's about listening to other people. So I'm going to sort of talk to you about some of the behaviours that you can demonstrate during the assessment that would indicate that you have those behaviours. One of the second things that they're looking for is obviously initiative. So they want people that aren't going to wait around and be told what to do, that they're going to sort of put up their hand and take the initiative and be autonomous. They're looking for good communicators. Obviously, verbal is probably the most important. If you're out in the community, you're going to be delivering safety programs. You're going to be out talking to people from a very varied range of backgrounds and ages, from little kids in kindergartens to primary school kids to people in aged care, or people from fairly vulnerable groups who maybe don't even speak very good English. So being able to adapt your communication is really important. And in this assessment, they'll often ask you to do a written exercise as well to test your written communication skills. They're looking for people who are inclusive. So diversity and inclusion is a very big part of the fire service, a very important aspect when they're recruiting. So looking for people who are inclusive of people from all backgrounds. Obviously, they want people who are very good analysers and problem solvers, can work under pressure. So a lot of these assessment tasks will be timed so that you are under pressure and working as a team. Ability to influence others is important, as well as just your general social skills and how you present and whether you're confident speaking in front of people. And for every fire service, they also have core values. So if you haven't looked at the values yet, then it's important to really sort of be clear on what those are and think about how you can behave in the group assessment, but obviously, if you actually get the job, how you can demonstrate those values day to day and how you already demonstrate them in your current job. Any questions about these attributes or capabilities, right? Okay, so I guess just a couple of strategies and things that you can be doing whilst you're in this group activity. First of all, I would say, the key to being successful in these assessments is just to be yourself. A couple of other strategies, obviously don't interrupt people, and that can be really hard on a Zoom call. So you really need to wait and pause, make sure people have finished talking, so you don't talk over the top of them. So they may instruct you to use, like we've been doing, raise your hand to ask a question, and hopefully that will work and you won't feel like you're going to interrupt people. As I mentioned, piggyback on other people's ideas and compliment people on their ideas. Obviously, you don't want to go overboard, but just saying, yeah, I think that I agree with Ben. I think that's a really good idea. I think we should go with that idea. You can expand on what others say, add some more insight. So if you've got knowledge in a particular area, again, you can agree with someone and add a bit extra to that. Now, if you are a competitive person, don't let the competition get the better of you. You definitely want to come across as a team player, someone who's collaborative, not competitive. So, don't feel like you have to really take over the conversation to get noticed. I'm sure, most of you are team players anyhow, so it won't be a problem. And finally, at the end of the exercise, thank your team as well. Again, that shows giving them good feedback. Good job, guys. I think we did really well. Thanks, everyone. That's a way of, I guess, showing that you appreciate the team and the others in that group. What I'm hearing is that these group exercises would be maybe around 9 or 10 people. Okay, so it's not going to be a huge group. I think the group assessments, often they're a little bit bigger, but the feedback I've had recently was about 9 or 10 people.
So basically, today we wanted to do some stuff to prepare you for some of your group work. Now, it'll work quite well with the group that we've got. If there's a lot of participants that tend to pop you into breakout rooms, but I think if there's just the 4 of you, it'll actually be something that you can discuss, and I'll just stay quiet so that you can chat. First of all, we've had some feedback from some of the participants who've gone in to do their assessments, and so we wanted to sort of give you some of their tips. So basically, you'll need to obviously be able to talk a little bit about yourself, because the face-to-face interview stuff, or even the online interview stuff, when if you have to do it online because of COVID restrictions, it will involve a little bit about why you want to join the service, what skills you can bring to your particular service, what your transferable skills are from the job that you're doing at the moment, and how they apply to the fire service that you're applying for. Because even though I think we've mentioned in these sessions before, even though obviously they want you to have the fitness and they want you to be able to pass all these exams, they still need to know, like, they don't want people just from other fire services, or just from, say, the army, or just from the police. They want people from all different backgrounds, because that's how you get a really vibrant and diverse fire service. And the skills that you really, really need, they're going to train you in anyway. So we'll do maybe that exercise first, which involves you doing it on your own, and then maybe we'll choose a couple of you to be able to give your speech, and then we'll do some group work, which will involve a scenario and working on an action plan. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen, and then we can, here we go, just go through some of the ways to prepare for this. So I've given you 2 different options, 2 topics to talk on. I don't know what they're going to ask you to talk on. It might be fire safety related, or it might be something completely different. But whatever the topic, there's always a few things that you can apply if you need to give an impromptu speech about anything. So the first thing is, don't try and write everything out. in full. So if you've got 10 minutes or even less to prepare for your talk, you're going to need to have dot points which act as a prompt to tell you what to write, to tell you what to say. If you write everything out in full, it's really easy to get lost in amongst the sentences and you end up reading what you've written. And sometimes you haven't written enough, or sometimes you've written too much. If you've got dot points and you realize that you're coming up to time, you can skip a few and come to the end. It's a lot easier to do that than if you're trying to read through a paragraph and find your last concluding sentences. So when you're thinking about thinking about a topic and you've never seen this topic before, start at the beginning and think about where am I going to be doing this? Who's the audience? What language do I use to make sure it's appropriate? So you don't want to use really long, complicated sentences or words, because that makes it really difficult for the people who are listening to you to understand you. One of the biggest things when I'm marking assessments for students who are doing, when I'm teaching them language, is that those students, if they have to do like a presentation, those students who are just reading off their essays, essentially, aren't really communicating, they're just reading. And what you want to do when you're standing up in the front of a group of people is actually communicate information so that they come away knowing more than they did at the start of it. The other thing you can do, because you've never seen these topics before, draw on your own experiences, or something that you've read. Don't worry too much about statistics or being able to know a lot about it. You're only there for 2 minutes, so you really don't have lots of time to go into detail. But if you can draw on your own experiences with your workplace, with anything else that you've had, your life experience, that will make it easier for you to build like a little story around your topic, and it means that you can talk a little bit easier for longer. We generally talk too fast when we're under pressure. So even though it might feel like you're talking too slowly, you're probably not when you're in front of a crowd. So just actually work on slowing your words down and thinking, even if it feels like, oh gosh, they must be falling asleep, they're probably not, because your perception of how fast you're talking is actually not what they're hearing. So you might be thinking, oh gosh, I'm talking so slowly, but actually you're talking at a fine, normal pace. We just automatically speed everything up because our heart rate speeds up and everything starts to move a little bit quicker when we're nervous. And in the end, don't panic. This is one test or one assessment out of a whole group of assessments as part of the recruitment process. So you don't have to get everything perfect. You just have to perform at a level with something like public speaking, at a level where you can actually express information and it's clear and understandable. It doesn't have to be, something that you've prepared months in advance. It's you put on the spot. Their expectations will be lower than if, for example, the other tests that they're doing, like the verbal and the mechanical and the abstract. So they know that you're under pressure. Your most important thing is to be able to show that you're not caving to that pressure. Now that I've given you all a pep talk, what I want you to do for the next, let's say 7 minutes, so that we don't run out of time. So I'll put my timer on for 7 minutes. Choose one of those two topics, the fire safety in the workplace or educating the community about bushfires, and then write some dot points so that you'll be able to do a 2-minute talk once we finish. Probably won't be able to get through everybody to do a 2-minute talk, or we'll miss out on our next section. But just considering you don't know if it's you that I'm going to pick, everyone needs to do it. So I'll put myself on mute. And if you have a question, you can just unmute yourself and ask the question.